Update. Am I the a-hole for going behind my wife's back and telling her pregnant sister that she's being cheated on? Original post. I have been married to my wife for 3 years. I'm 27 and she is 26. My sister-in-law is 30 and my brother-in-law is 31. I've always had a close relationship with my sister-in-law. We're friends. I also have a decent connection with my brother-in-law, though we're not that close. We often talk and get along. My wife and her sister haven't gotten along as well as you might expect siblings do. It's not just normal sibling rivalry, but rather constant fights and arguments. Anyway, 3 weeks ago, when I was having dinner with my friends, I saw my brother-in-law with another woman. They were just eating, and I didn't think much of it. I wanted to go and greet him, but I stayed with my friends. After a while, I saw him give this woman a light kiss. I was so shocked. I decided not to confront him, but when I got home, I told my wife everything. I told her that her sister was being cheated on and that we needed to tell her. My wife said we should talk to my brother-in-law instead of telling her sister and that we shouldn't break up their marriage because her sister is pregnant. I was like, what? So what if she's pregnant? Her husband is cheating. I tried multiple times to convince my wife that we should tell her sister the truth. I told her, I know you guys don't get along, but she's still your sister, and this isn't right. But my wife asked me to stay out of it. I tried my best to convince her, but she either ignored me or insisted that we should break up their marriage. I had enough, and yesterday I told her that I was going to tell my sister-in-law the truth. She and I have a great bond, and I can't and won't betray her. My wife then said that if I told her, she wouldn't talk to me anymore. I replied, I won't talk to you either if you refuse to do what's right. Today, I went to my sister-in-law's place and told her everything. At first, she was doubtful and asked me to leave. After a few hours, she called me crying and said that what I told her was true. She apologized for doubting me and told me she was leaving. I asked her, where will you go? Do you have money? She said she did, but not much. I wired her some money and told her to call me if she needed help. She thanked me and said she would only use the money if necessary and would return what she didn't need. My brother-in-law called my wife and my wife lashed out at me, saying I ruined her family and her sister's life. I said, I thought that when we got married, your family became mine and my family became yours. Why are you defending that man so much? What about your sister? She didn't respond and hasn't talked to me since. I tried to explain to her that it was the right thing to do, but she wouldn't listen. Finally, I said, fine, stay angry, and if you want to divorce me, go ahead. Now, I feel like I may have ruined my marriage and don't know if what I did was truly the right thing. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. If I were you, I would sleep with one eye open. Your wife has no moral standards. I truly have been thinking about this, that she might just be... But I love and trust my wife, and I was thinking she wanted me to not tell her because my sister-in-law is pregnant, and women knows how stressful pregnancy and after pregnancy is. And she might have thought that she needs support from her husband? I don't know. Nothing here makes sense to me. There was nothing for me to suspect of her cheating on me. You know what else would cause your pregnant sister-in-law stress? Getting an STD from her cheating husband. You've done the right thing. Sounds like your wife supports cheater and that should be worrying to you. Not the a-hole. I've thought about it, and I am concerned. But I think she asked me not to tell her because my sister-in-law is pregnant, and it would cause her more stress. That's just my guess. But the truth is, if I hide it and support my wife, I'm in the wrong. If I tell her the truth after she gives birth, I'm still wrong. If I hide it forever, I'm still wrong. So what am I supposed to do? Cover for the betrayer and not help my family? Even if my wife is angry at me and I'll probably lose her if I haven't lost her already. I'm surprised your wife wouldn't tell her sister. So am I. What I think is that no matter how strained both sisters' relationship is, at least a sibling would have the back of their sibling, especially when they are pregnant. But she didn't even try to help her sister and angry at me. I am like, WTF? Is this really the woman I got married to? Now for the update. It's been a few days since I told my wife's sister that her husband is cheating. Just to clarify for all the people questioning me, no, I am not in love with my sister-in-law. I don't have any inappropriate relationship or feelings for her. I respect her and she's family. Yesterday, I asked my wife why she was upset and why she didn't want me to reveal the truth to her sister. I know they don't get along, but they're still siblings. My wife said it wasn't our place to interfere. I asked if she was okay with her sister being cheated on. She said she wasn't, but that I'd ruin their marriage with my stupidity. She said her sister is pregnant and the child needs his father, and so does the wife. I was so shocked when she said that. Like, what? I asked her, if I were to cheat on you, would you forgive me? She said yes. I also asked if, hypothetically, she ever cheated on me, would she hide it from me? She also said yes. I was stunned and asked her if she understood what she was saying. She said, yes, and I am confident. Just because you slept with someone else doesn't mean everyone else has to suffer and break the family. I was speechless, and then told her I had also sent my sister-in-law money. She started yelling at me, saying I shouldn't have helped her, knowing that she doesn't like her sister. I replied that if that's how she felt, maybe we should just divorce. She got angry, shouted, "Fine," and began packing her bags. I tried my best to stop her, telling her that I love her and that I was only doing what I thought was right. No one should have to suffer betrayal like this. She argued that it wasn't the right time. I asked, so when should we tell her the truth? After she gives birth? Because that would worsen her postpartum depression. Or years after? She'll just blame us. My wife said we should have kept quiet and left it alone. I tried so hard to stop her, but she wouldn't listen and left. I've tried to contact her parents and friends, but none of them know where she is. They instead started questioning me, saying that as her husband, I should have taken care of her and should know where she is. I even visited my brother-in-law's place to confirm my suspicions, but I didn't see her car or any of her belongings there. I hate that I'm being blamed for simply telling the truth, and my wife left me without a second thought. I was so frustrated that today I called my sister-in-law and told her she could stay at my place because I'm going to my parents, and my wife left me with no one knowing where she is. She said she tried talking to her parents but later called back to say they didn't know where she was either. I told her to focus on herself and come stay at my place instead of spending all her money on temporary accommodations. So now, I'm at my parents' house and my sister-in-law is at my home. Maybe I'm being petty, but I can't stand that my wife left me without a second thought. I don't know if she's cheating or has cheated, or if she would ever truly betray me and her own sister because of family feuds. But one thing is for sure, I can't trust my wife anymore. She hurt me deeply. I'm sorry, Opie. The way your wife speaks on the subject of cheating is concerning. Especially that she would hide it from you. If I were in your shoes, I won't be able to trust her either. How she doesn't look at cheating on your significant other as a huge deal breaker is beyond me. Some couples can forgive and move past it, but not all. The baby's father can still be in his/her life. I'm sorry you're hurting and going through this. Hugs. Yeah, I feel like she isn't even the woman I married. She's like a completely different person. Maybe the comments about I married a wrong sister were right. Haha. In any case, I loved her and I still do and will do so for a foreseeable future. So I'll just back out of relationship and dating scene. And even I don't trust my wife at this point. Your wife was mad because she's most likely the one having the affair with your brother-in-law. And if it's not with a brother-in-law, it's definitely with someone else where you think she's been, hiding at her affair partner's place. Your wife told you she would cheat on you and would have no remorse to it, and would also not tell you. What in that tells you she hasn't already done that? She sympathizes with cheating probably because she's been in that position and sees it in herself as no big deal. You obviously feel differently. Think on this for a while before you go groveling and begging for her back. I think she just told you a really big secret and expects you to understand and forgive her. At this point, I would just contact her parents and say you need an address for her to be served. This is not a marriage where your partner storms off and disappears with no contact. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering divorcing my wife because she told my sister's husband that my sister cheated on him? My wife and I have been married for 14 years and we have 3 kids. My wife has always been a bit snoopy and nosy, but it didn't really bother me until recently. My sister and I have always been close since childhood, and we tell each other everything. Many years ago, my sister confessed to me that she had an emotional affair, which lasted for a month. She was in tears and very remorseful. Her marriage was going through a difficult time. We talked a lot about it, and after those conversations, my sister joined therapy, became sober, and she's now living a very happy life with her husband. My wife never knew about this because I've always made sure to keep my conversations private. However, a couple of weeks ago, I was a bit drunk and got lazy about being careful while talking to my sister. My sister was talking about how that was a turning point in her life and how she could be happier now. My wife overheard this conversation and asked me about it the next day. I told her it was none of her business, but she kept saying it was unfair to my sister's husband and that he deserved to know. I told my wife to let it go, but instead, she called my sister's husband directly and told him what she'd overheard. I was shocked and really angry at her. Now my sister's marriage is on the rocks, and her husband is seriously considering divorce. I told my wife that if my sister goes through a divorce, then I would go through a divorce too. She was shocked and apologized repeatedly, saying she would never do this again, but I don't think this is repairable. She's now begging me to at least consider our kids and how disruptive a divorce would be. The atmosphere at our house is really tense now, and I'm no longer sleeping in the same room as my wife. I refuse to talk to her or eat the breakfast or dinner she prepares. Instead, I go out to eat. My wife has cried a few times, but I think those are empty tears. Am I the a-hole for considering divorce? Now for the comments. It's weird that you're the one threatening divorcing her, since she would be the one divorcing you because you're a huge a-hole. I'm going to be an emotional terrorist to my children by removing myself from breakfast and dinner and leaving them confused and scared because they can tell I'm fighting with her mom. Dude can't even keep appearances for the sake of the kids. You don't even have to speak with her. Just show up and eat the freaking food for their sake until you either decide to patch things up or file for divorce. This part, dude doesn't even care about his kid's emotional state. Just him, his sister, and his own invalid feelings. What kind of husband supports a cheater? Covers it up? What kind of dad treats his kids' mothers like that in front of them? All of this over a month-long emotional affair years ago? It wasn't years ago to the cheated on husband. He just found out, so it's fresh. Things get really gray when you're talking about a short emotional affair. What does it even mean in this context? She realized she was developing feelings for a coworker and texting him too much, so she cut contact with him and went on to have a far happier marriage? Going back on some of that stuff is thought crime level nonsense. I'm okay with labeling something an emotional affair when they're sending "I love you and can't wait to leave my husband for you" texts, and he finds out about it. But it's kinda different when she realizes she's doing the wrong thing, then shuts it down on her own before anything physical happens. Like, what's next? Leave her for having a dream about someone else? We all have thoughts and feelings, and sometimes they wander. The thing that should matter is what you choose to do with those feelings. She chose to discard them and stay with her husband. That seems like something I wouldn't hold against her. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's ruining my wedding by demanding I invite her ex? So my wedding is coming up in a few weeks, and it's supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. I, 28 female, have been planning it for months with my fiancé, 30 male. Everything is coming together except for my sister, 26 female. A bit of backstory. My sister and her ex, Jake, were together for several years. They broke up about 6 months ago, and it was a pretty messy breakup. She was devastated, and I've been there for her through all of it. I understand that she's still struggling, and I've tried my best to be supportive. The problem started when she told me she wanted me to invite Jake to my wedding. I was taken aback because, well, things ended badly between them, and she's clearly not over it. I told her from the start that I wasn't comfortable inviting him, especially since it was such a painful breakup for her. She seemed okay with that at first, but then she started pushing me harder. She said it wasn't fair for her to pretend everything is fine and that I was being insensitive to her feelings. I tried explaining that this is my wedding and I want it to be a day focused on joy, not uncomfortable situations. But now she's really upset. Then it escalated. She told me that if Jake wasn't invited, she wouldn't come to the wedding at all. She says it's too important for her to have him there for closure. I get that she's going through something tough, but this is my wedding, and I don't want it overshadowed by old drama. I've tried to be firm and said she could either come and respect my decision or not come at all. But now she's telling the rest of the family that I'm being selfish and prioritizing a wedding day over her emotional well-being. It's tearing me up, but I really feel like I'm standing my ground. I'm now questioning if I'm being too harsh. I know weddings are a big deal, but it feels like she's making this all about her, and it's not the time or place to do that. So, am I the a-hole? Say, okay, you're off the guest list, and then hang up. The wedding is not the venue for her drama. Whatever you do, don't keep reasoning with her and negotiating with her. She's out. Invite your nice colleague or neighbor instead. She needs to stop being this pathetically desperate for a guy who doesn't want her. It would be weird for Jake to even want to come. But let's say he did and does go. Sister is probably imagining a reconciliation happening because it is a wedding and love is in the air, and she has watched one too many Hallmark movies. But what is going to happen in reality is, he will either come with someone which will set her off. He will start hitting on the bridesmaids, which will set her off, or he will spend the night actively trying to avoid her while she chases him around like a lovesick puppy, which will then set her off. No matter what, she will end up ruining the wedding. Not coming is always a choice, but not coming because an ex won't be there is delusional and sad. I hope you have a beautiful, drama-free wedding and a resounding not the a-hole. I think she's hoping Jake will reach out to her to figure out going together as each other's +1 if he gets the invite, possibly triggering a reconciliation. That level of delusion needs serious help though. Not the a-hole. If she wants closure, she calls him like an adult and have a last dinner with him. Your wedding is not a place for her private dramas. Your in-laws don't have to be witnesses of this. She is disrespectful towards you, but she is more towards your fiancé, like it's not his big day too. It's not about your family, it's about two families joining. Your sister makes it about her. So, it's absolutely her right to not come to the wedding, but it will be her fault, not yours. She doesn't want closure. She's hoping the romantic setting of a wedding will be the perfect place to rekindle their relationship.